I've forgotten how to get it out. I'm gonna have to mess with it. Well, we just figured out that we have a broken Blackwater pump again. So we have the floor up, and the pump we're going after is the one with the white top on the port side over there on your left. Anyway, so we'll get at it, and then we will talk about it when we've got the pump out and we're rebuilding it in the cockpit. These are called joker valves. They open one way and they close the other. They go inside here, and there's two of them. Each side of the pump has two. This is the core of the pump. If these things don't close well like this, they never seal right and you'll have vacuum leaks. But they can be reused. These are old, but as you can see, the rubber is in perfectly good quality. So I'm going to pick the best we have and replace the ones that are in there with these so we can clean them. In order to get under here to get the rest of these, we have to get the motor off. Yeah, to get it right there. It's either 1 or 2 that's down there on this specific brand and size of vacuum flush system. It's 2. 2? Okay. Yep, it's 2. But let's see. So the first thing generally that you do is you take off this outer piece of plastic, mostly a dust cover. And of course, with this dust cover, we'll know if this is the replaced one or not. Whether it's the replaced one or not, it's leaking, there's water in it. So, now to get the pump off, we have to take this bolt off. That's a big one, I forgot how big that was. And you're right, we wedged this in order to get it side to keep it from, on one side or the other, to keep it from rotating. Uh-huh. Yeah, so we have to get another... Need to get a bigger wrench. Yep. GoPro. No, what? It's a 19 millimeter. If you remember correctly, this had a difficult fit. It does. On the motor. And the washers go on the top. With that, motor looks good so far? Yeah, it just needs to be cleaned up. Okay. Now, if we lean it up, we should have access to all of the pieces on top. This stinks, by the way. It smells something fierce. No, I got it. You don't have to do that. No, that works too. People forget feet are also hands. Just hands without opposable thumbs. These pumps always fail in the same way. I'll show you when we get in here what causes them to fail. The joker valves get encrusted and they don't seal right. You have to replace those. Or the plunger in the middle of this thing fails. When the plunger fails, you get fluid coming outside the pump. This one was rebuilt? This is very, very hard to get on. There's a gasket around here, and that gasket has to be set in just perfect, and if it's not, it won't seal. And if it doesn't seal, you don't get a vacuum, and your toilets don't flush. Let's rinse this thing out. There's another seal here, and this metal thing is really hard to get out. There, see, it's moving. This is a split ring. Now, what happens is these bellows, when it goes up and down all the time, they break and then water gets on the inside. That's how these things fail. Okay? So we've got a whole new bellows. But first we have to clean up the area and the things.
Interestingly, and this is something you need to keep track of, this one specifically has a longer one on one end than the other to help differentiate the in versus the out.
Look at what happens to these joker valves. See how crusty they get and they stay open. They don't seal right.
And there's two of them. They've doubled up on joker valves, but
see how that didn't seal? This one needs to be washed. So that's a good one.
They all need to be washed.
One valve is in this end, like that, and the other valve is in here. These things need to be replaced probably about every year, but they can be washed.
So that's the time we would have to take it apart anyway.
So this fatter end, the valve goes in this way. Then there's a second valve right in here.
The important thing to note is that there is an in and an out.
Right.
And you can't reverse the two, otherwise nothing happens.
This end is the in.
And like all plastic fittings, don't over tighten them. Snug them, seal them, but don't over tighten them. You'll break them that way.
Correct. This one is exactly the opposite, but these parts are interchangeable. Now, we put in the new piece.
But in order to prepare the new piece, you have to put the two-sided ring on both sides.
Now, this is where we have to decide which side the motor goes on. And this has to get lined up exactly right. You only get one shot at this, because once it's in, it's not coming back out. There's two gaskets. There's one that goes right around the top like that.
That's the easy gasket.
But when you're pounding it in, you don't want to damage this edge.
Otherwise the gasket won't sit in.
Correct.
The other gasket is a lot harder to do and gets put in along that white ring on the inside. They made some changes on these newer ones.
Yeah, the ring is a little different and the gasket's a little different, so it doesn't fit. This ring goes outside this and it goes inside this lip. And it's got to be lined up exactly perfect, and it has to be clean or it won't seal.
Like I said, we've broken one of these rings before. You can't pound it on, it has to fit perfectly in. One of the biggest problems we had early on is getting that to line up properly. I know what you're thinking.
If you put it just around here, it might be easy, right?
Yeah, no, can't do that. It doesn't work that actively crushes that piece. So what you have to do is you have to get it on.
It'll actively crush the plunger.
You have to put it on perfectly, put this top piece on, the cap, perfectly straight.
If you line it up, it fits fine.
It took us several attempts on the last few attempts that we got it right.
Now, we have to decide what side to put the motor on, because once I press this on, there ain't no changing it.
So it was on this side.
Okay, we don't get a second chance at this.
No second chances. So we're trying something different this time. We've gotten it on the other way before. It's incredibly difficult, but now we're gonna try just slowly torquing it down even.
This may have been the easy way.
And now the only thing left to put on is the motor. Oh, okay, you got that covered.
And there you lost it.
At the very least, we don't have to fish it out.
These last screws are hard to get in.
I guess we will get back to you once the next step is needed. It's going down. Last time, in order to get that on, we used a big screwdriver. And that is how you
rebuild a vacuum flush toilet pump.
It's honestly not that terrible of a job if you have it in a good place. It happens that ours are in a pretty inconvenient spot. Careful not to over torque it.
Nope, I just want to make sure they're all the same.
Okay.
Hey folks, like, subscribe, tell your friends. It really does help, and it helps the channel grow. It helps us get higher in the search engines. And if you do feel like you can, please donate and help us out on the journey and help us restore this boat. We have a Patreon link. We also have a PayPal link on our website.